All right, so we're going to do like one from each little section here because they all look the same. Every problem looks alike, but we're going to do them a little bit differently, right? Simplify each perfect square. If we've got a perfect square, we know that we're not going to have a square root in our answer. We could still do a factor tree just like always, but we know that we're going to have identical factors like 6 times 6. So the square root of 36 is just 6. Square root of 256, that is 16 times 16. So my answer is just 16. And so on, right? Perfect square is nice and even. You can throw a plus or minus in front. You don't have to, but you can if you want. Now keep in mind that says simplify, right? What does the next section say to do? Estimate. So if we're estimating, we're figuring out which perfect squares this number falls in between. Exactly. So 34, when I see the number 34, my brain immediately thinks of 36, which is a perfect square. Now 36 is slightly more than 34. Which perfect square is slightly less than 34, Devin? 25. Right?
It'd be between 5 and 2.
Exactly. So because 34 is in between 25 and 36, the square root of 25 is 5. The square root of 36 is 6. This square root is somewhere between 5 and 6. Right? Number 7, if we're looking at that, what's the closest perfect square to 104? Perfect square, so big number. What's the closest perfect square to 104? I'd probably say 100. Right? That's a little bit less. The next perfect square is 121. So where would this imperfect square fall between? 10 and 11. Right? So that's estimating. Keep in mind, make sure you're reading the directions tomorrow so you know what you're expected to do. Now we've got some imperfect squares that we're not going to estimate. We're going to simplify. This is where our factor trees come in handy. What two numbers multiply to give me 20? 5 and 4. What two numbers multiply to give me 4? 2 and 2. Why are we talking? So my prime factors are 2, 2, and 5. Any pairs in here I can circle up?
Yes.
Yep, pair of 2s. Where do we bring those 2s? On the outside, what gets left on the inside? That single 5. 2 root 5. There's our answer. You can put a plus or minus in front. I would say just put a plus or minus just so it's, well, it's multiple choice, so it doesn't really matter. But in the future, I would always put a plus or minus. Number 12, I had some people asking me about number 12. What two numbers multiply to give me 99?
11 and 9.
11 and 9. Can I split up 11?
No.
Can I split up 9?
Yes.
Yeah. 3 and 3. So I got 3 times 3 times 11. Pair of 3s comes out. Lonesome 11 stays behind. Boom. That's a really, I miswrote it, sorry. Plus or minus 3 root 11. Just like that. Right? Anytime we have a identical pair, they come out to the front and fuse together into a single 3. All right? But if we had something like the square root of 56, that would be 7 times, is it 7 times 8? Yeah, 7 times 8.
Yeah.
Wait, what about this one? 2 times 12, 2 times 6. Okay, if we look at 10, right, we got 2 times 2 times 2 times 3. So my pair of 2s comes out, but what gets left behind? 2 and 3. So what do we do with that 2 and that 3? Multiply them and we get what? Boom, just like that. Good. Seems like you guys are confident with this, which is great. Down at the bottom, same exact thing, except instead of just simplifying it, we're taking the square root of both sides. The square root of x squared is x. We want to make sure we definitely have a plus or minus here. This is where it really matters. When there's an equal sign, we need a plus or minus sign. And what's the square root of 64? 8. Just like that. All right. Now, if we're looking to volume on the back, let's take number 19. What's the shape you see in number 19? A cone. So my volume is 1/3 pi r squared h. What's the height of this cone in number 19? 8. And what is my radius in this cone? 4. Why is it 4?
Because it's half of 8.
It's half of 8. Yeah, we see this full dotted line is 8 miles long. The radius is going to be half of that, which would be 4 miles long. So when we go to plug in r, we're going to make sure we're plugging in 4. And for h, we're going to plug in 8. So 4 squared is 16. 16 times 8 is 128. And what do we do now? We divide 128 by 3. Exactly. Now, does 3 go into 128 evenly? No. So for our exact volume, we're going to leave it as 128 over 3 pi. That is my exact volume. We do not want to turn 128 over 3 into a decimal, because at that point it's not exact, right? It's an approximation. If I were to do 128 divided by 3, that is not a exact decimal. Even if we put 42.666, there's an infinite number of 6's after that. So we want to leave it as a fraction. That's what we mean by exact. But now that we have our exact volume, we can do our little wavy equal sign. It looks like that. That's essentially means that it's approximately equal to. We could do 128 divided by 3, which is that, times pi, which is that, 134.04. 134.04. What are my units? Miles cubed. There's our full answer right there. Want to go 2 decimal places? Just like that. Okay, questions I could answer about number 19? Feeling okay with that? Okay. Bless you. Which of these spheres do you want to do? 23 or 24? 24 it is. I hear more 24s than 23s. So the volume of a sphere is 4 over 3 pi r cubed. 4 over 3 pi r cubed. All we need to plug in is the r. What is my radius for this sphere? 6. Do I need to cut 6 in half? No, why not? It's already half a line. That's right. Okay, so we plug in 6 for r. 6 times 6 times 6 gives me 216. Right? We're going to multiply 4 times 216 to get 864 over 3 pi. Can we divide 864 by 3? Yes, we can. We get 288 pi. That's my exact volume. We multiply 288 by pi to get an approximation of 904.78 cubic feet. All right. You want to make sure that you're actually pressing pi in your calculator. If we just abbreviate it to 3.14. Let me show you what happens. Times 3.14, right? We get 904.32. I mean, it's pretty close, but we can see the decimal number is way off because we chopped off a bunch of those decimals that are in pi, so we don't get as precise of an answer as we want. So during the test tomorrow, it'll be an unlocked quiz. You can access the scientific calculator websites that I have linked in Google Classroom, kind of like we did for the first volume test that we took. So make sure you're actually typing in the letter pi and not 3.14, okay?